Good evening, lovely spirits. It's the wise servant here, Mr. Solace. Peace and wisdom. Now, tonight I want to do this video breaking down the real story of Jesus from the Bible. Now, you know in the Bible only discusses his birth and the ends of his life, but there's many parts missing. Now, I don't want you to get lost and think that this is a pseudo video. And I'm not here to alter your religious text in any way. But I just want you guys to grasp the Bible is a book that was written using ancient stories. So you have to grasp the Bible consists of 66 books. These books are old before the Bible was written. So you can, if anything, the Bible is retelling stuff. So I'm just telling you the actual true history of it. Because the Bible used different texts of different men's history to strengthen the religion and the God system that all cities have. But outside of the cities, men in forests and little villages, they don't have that system. So they don't have the God and religion attached. But that's not to say that they don't have the stories of the history of certain men. So like I said, the Bible uses certain men in history and, use it to strengthen the religion or whatever. But in a nutshell, I want to tell you the full, accurate story of Jesus Christ. Now, you can forget the name Jesus Christ. That's not important. You can actually, because this story is old. This story comes from ancient brotherhood. You have ancient brotherhoods, and they have certain ceremonies and rites that they go through to test the spirit of the initiate. And this goes back past 12,000 years ago. So the Jesus story, there's many men that fit that bill over time, going back a long time. Men that went through a certain brotherhood that was separate from the cities. So you have the cities in its system with the religion, the gods, the kings, or the rulers, however you want to call it. And then you have what was separate from that, like the forest, the village, and they had their way, and it was kind of kept separate. So the Bible just gives you stories of the cities, the beginnings of the building of cities, and all the chaotic things that were going on in the cities. But that's what it's about. But like I was saying, this goes back far to the ancient brotherhoods. And you still have these brotherhoods today that still do the initiation thing. And this is a wisdom thing. But in order for you guys to fully grasp this Jesus story, I need to take you guys to the Far East. The Far East Asian countries. I need to take you guys over there. Now, their religion is a little different than ours on the West. And they're more into the energy within the being. So over on the West, they have different meditations that they do. You have yogis. You have many different aspects to what we would call their religion. But it's more focused on the energy, which we call on the West, the spirit within a person. So their philosophy and their way is more based on the spiritual energy within a person and how the spirit is superior to the body. And if you can grasp that, you can harness the power of the spirit and kind of have that mind over body type of thing going, where you do kind of magical things or things that we don't truly understand that a person can do. So if you go like to the Buddhist monks and they do weird different things with their chi, and you like, man, they do stuff that's almost not like human. Well, what they have is the mind over body, or the spiritual power overriding the body, how it's supposed to be. So it's a deep thing, but they go through their different levels of that practice, conquering the body, so to say, meaning the spirit power manifests through the body. But in order to get to that state, you have to go through many levels of fasting and understanding what eating does and what it is. And, like how I break down to y'all eating, you have to go through different levels of fasting and truly understanding and getting to a point where you don't necessarily have to eat or have a desire to eat specific things, but just the necessities. And they go through different meditation processes where they tap more and more into that energy, understanding it, getting their self to a state where they can do things that we call like magical. Now, to get to the point, once the person gets to that stage, they can be initiated into the brotherhood. I don't want to say too much because this still happens today outside of the cities. The cities is more of a slavery thing being ruled over, but just to keep things, on a fair level, once the initiate got through, the different levels of fasting and basically built their morality up to a point where, the physical desires and the physical nature of the life has no type of effect or affliction upon their spirit. And it's just deep, like that mind over body thing that I was saying. But once they get through all of that, they can be initiated into the brotherhood. But before they can, they have to truly be tested to see if all the meditation and the fasting and all of this stuff truly worked. So what would happen is they would be tested by the wheel. And what the wheel was basically just a big wheel, maybe 6-7 feet wheel. And it had a cross in the middle of the wheel. A crucifix, basically. And a man was tied to the cross, tied to the wheel, spread out. And sometimes the wheel would be set over fire or whatever, and this was testing to see if he had the mind over body, the spiritual energy over the body. And he would be tied to the wheel and tested. And if fire was set under him, he wouldn't burn. Because, he'd been through the meditative. He just has complete control over the spirit, over the body. So the fire doesn't burn him. And you see Buddhist monks in today, doing weird things like this, where you like, damn, he got stabbed and it didn't go through him, and so it's deep. But they would be tested on the wheel and burned or whatever, but the flesh wouldn't burn. If the flesh wouldn't burn, the spirit was pure, or the spirit was strong. But they tested it more to see if it was real. How strong was it? For you to be an initiate, you had to get through. So they were tested on the wheel. Then they was tested by the sword, and they were pierced through the palm. And when they were pierced through the palm, after the sword went through, completely through, they would pull it out. And if the person was pure and had the spirit over the body will, there would be no wound, no blood. So it would be pierced, but upon pulling it out, no wound, no injury. Then they would test them further. This was like the last stage. They would basically pierce them through the chest with the sword. And this is what they do over in the Far East Asian countries, still today in some parts. And they would pierce them through the chest with the sword. It would go through. And when they pull it out, it would be no blood, no wound. So they would know, okay, this person is pure in spirit, and they would be initiated in. And then they would be given certain words, because everything deals with vibration and energy. And word is the core essence. This is like our creator gift. Our words is the most powerful thing ever. That is what created all. Vibration and energy being pushed out. Sound has vibration and energy all within it. So your words is so powerful. But they would be given certain words, so that they could manifest the spirits and speak to them. They were given certain hand signals to do this. They were given certain words to tap into a person's aura or their energy and basically revive them from death. So, when a person dies, and sometimes they hit them with I forgot what that's called, but they hit them with that and bring them back, shock them back. The person that went through the ceremonies and the initiations, they would be given the words and the hand signals, and they could bring the person back. This is all real. I know we've been conditioned to believe when a person dies, that's it. But you spend your whole life restoring your body. A man drowns, chokes on a chicken bone, and dies in CPR. He's brought back. So, you go to sleep. You brought back. So, it's deep. We are revived and we restore our bodies the whole way until that last point, or what we believe to be that last point. But you go to the dentist and you do all these many things. And if we didn't have the knowledge of these things, we would pretty much die early. So knowledge keeps us going as long as we go. And men could go longer than that point, where what we call dying, a person could be revived and the body could be restored again, made new, but whatever. The initiate would go through these things and be given the passwords and hand signals. And so that's how it was. Now, when you get to Jesus, he was one of these. He went through this. And he was one of those that went out to the masses with this understandings. Meaning he went into the cities where they have their structure and their system that works for the king to rule over the people. And Jesus was one of the first people that went out into the cities with the teachings of, the spirit over the body, and that is your connection to the creator. We all have that source of energy within us. That source of energy, if you can harness that and grasp, that is your direct connection to the source, and you can do great things. It's not about being ruled over and having fears. You're being controlled by your fears and insecurities. But life, death, it transcends into one another. You have spirits in bodies, spirits out of bodies. And, he was just breaking down that real, true knowledge of self in the divine connection with the all, with self. And, in the system of the cities, the rulers do not want to hear that. And then you have people brainwashed, like in today. So Jesus was one of the first to do that. But let me go back to his birth. So now, in the Bible, we all know Jesus was born. Now, I broke down in the past video that Hebrew meant immigrant. And Israelite was just the name that one of the Hebrews, meaning immigrants, that's on the land. An immigrant is a person that's not a native to a land. So over a large amount of time, a Hebrew named Jacob decided to name his line of people so that they wouldn't just be immigrants, meaning more than immigrants, but people without a nationality. So it's like the black people are in today times, where we don't really know our nationality. We're called black and all this. We don't have a solid nationality with a land attached to that. So Jacob was the first. So this is what immigrant meant. More than just, this is what Hebrew meant. It meant more than just immigrant. But, someone that's like completely untouched with their nationality. They've been separated for so long and reproducing with those on the lands that they're on that they become lost in nationality. So this is all Hebrew meant, and this is why you see that all over the Bible, Hebrew. Now, when Jesus was born, he was referred to as a Hebrew as well. Not an Israelite, but a Hebrew. And this is why, because Jesus was born on a land he wasn't native to. So he was referred to as a Hebrew. Now, the reason Jesus was referred to as a Hebrew is because Jesus was from the Far East countries. Those Far East Asian countries like India and all that. He's from over there. Him and his mother. Now, before you get lost and say, no, that's wrong, Solace, I want you to grasp. When Jesus was born, men from the East came to see him. Why would men from the East come to see him? Because it's like Solace said. Jesus was from the Far East countries. Now, off rip, being as though... Now, my knowledge does not come from the Bible, but I'm just trying to help y'all to grasp. You know that Jesus' father had to be some king or something from the Far East because he sent 3 of his servants. Not 3, he just sent wise men. Meaning, his lords or whatever, those beneath him. He sent them. The king sent them to see Jesus. Now, the Bible tells it how it tells it. But the king from the east sent them because that was his child. But the problem was Jesus' mother was not one of his wives. Kings had concubines, meaning many wives. Now, for a king to be mingling with a servant or a maid woman, it's not a good look on his image. It's not a good look on his status. He could actually be beheaded and dethroned because of something like that. You got all these rich, extravagant women that you can have. And you got about 10 wives already. Yet you're mingling with maids? So it was a deep thing in those times. So when the king began to mess with Mary, he sent her away. Like, get her out of here before somebody find out that I smashed her out and she start running her mouth. You know how women do. So he get her out of here. Send her somewhere else. He sent her off to Bethlehem or wherever she ended up. So she's there mingling and jingling, gets a boyfriend, Joseph, whatever the case may be. But the king got people watching. Make sure she ain't pregnant enough, and if she is, kill her and the baby because I'm not about to lose my status for no maid lady. That's crazy. So I'm just giving you the perspective of the true mindset. So now she was already sent off. Now they get word, she's pregnant, bro. So he sent, but they tell her, she got a little boyfriend out here. I don't know, but she pregnant. So now Jesus is born. So now the wise men from the east come because they got to see if this is the king's kid. They got to go. We got to let the king know. So the king is basically go there, see if that's my son. If it's not my son, I don't care. Let them do what they do. If it look like me, because them people over there don't look like us. So if it look like me, man, you already know. Come back, let me know, and I'm going to send, those that do the cleanup work and clean them the fuck out. No, they were supposed to bring her, but she swindled her way out of it. It's cold-blooded. You got to read the Bible. But they were supposed to get her. But the wise men from the east came, and this is why. They came, they seen Jesus. They oh, yeah, that's the king's son. So they was trying to get Mary to come with them, but she swindled her way out of it, her and Joseph and them. And they wound up going to Egypt or whatever. And this is where you get the story in the Bible where the king was looking for them and all of that and couldn't never catch up with them. But this is the reason why, because Jesus was from that part of the lands, and so was Mary. And the people over there kind of resembled the people in Egypt. That's why they hid there. Now, when you fast forward, Jesus eventually went back to his native lands after his daddy died or whatever. That's why his father was always referred to as God, because kings were referred to as God in the past. In the Lord's. So we got our words for our system and structure, and in all cities it was the same way. They had their words and structure for the same way we got ours, but they just had like God, Lord, and this was like, king and the person under the king. But Jesus eventually went back, but this is why he was always referred to as God's son, because he was the son of a king. And this is a bad thing. I don't want you to think a good thing. Kings are, this is a bad thing when you're talking in terms of the divinity and the understanding the deep levels of life. What Jesus was a part of. His pops was kind of lost, but he was a king or whatever the case may be. But when he died, Jesus went back, and that's when he got into his studies or whatever, and it was eventually initiated in. So everything I told you in the beginning about the wheel and the piercing the hand and the piercing the chest and all of this, Jesus pretty much went through the initiation and was given the passwords and all these different things. And then he eventually went out into the cities where he, kind of was raised up a little bit when he was younger, hiding out. He went back to these cities to basically give them and show them the real knowledge. Because, people in the cities is lost into the religion and the God worship, and this all benefits the king, the ruler of the nation, keeping them under control through their fears and things. So Jesus was coming with that knowledge, and it was kind of interfering with that system. Now in the Bible, it tells it like how he got beat up, then hung up and crucified. Then he was pierced through his side, and then buried, and then rose 3 days later. But this is what was said after the actual truth of what happened. Now, the truth of what happened is this. See, Jesus went through his ceremonies, rites, and all those tests to be initiated. So he was already strung up by the wheel during initiation. He was already pierced through the palm during initiation. He was already pierced through his chest during initiation. He was already buried alive, because that's a part of the initiation I forgot to mention. They're buried alive for a certain time, and it's deep. They survived that too. That's the last stage of being initiated, but Jesus went through all of that already. So now the real story of what happened when he went through the cities, and he began to get big and popular, but he wasn't rich or famous. He lived, by the laws of the forest. This is why when he was tempted by the devil, he went to the forest, and he lived outside of the city laws, but he would just go there to teach. That's why he would always be like on the boat by the river. So he never would like really go deep into the city, but he would teach the people of the city the truth, and he began to get too popular. So then, they eventually captured him on blasphemy. So then they beat him, whipped him. This is what they did in those times. They whipped him, stoned him, and did him filthy. But the deep thing is, he had the mind over body, the power of the spirit. So it's a deep thing. Everything I broke down to you in the beginning, he was deep into that. So when they was beating him and shit, it wasn't doing anything. It was no wound, no blood. So they like, what the fuck is going on? They beating him, stoning him, but it's not having no effect. Now, he's not violent, so he's just going into his meditative state, taking it. But it's not having any effect. It's not causing any wound, anything. So this is when they get frustrated. They like, yo, string him up, crucify him, Because before crucifying, people were being tested on a will to be initiated. Then, that was adopted into the cities as a means to torture a person. But outside of the cities, this was a means of torture for the initiate to see if the spirit had the power over the body. So, men in the city, they alter every aspect of the truth of life, so to say. But anyway, they threw Jesus on the crucifix. And instead of tying him up, they like, we're going to nail him. So they nailed him to the cross. And he was up there babbling in his meditative state. Blah, 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 blah. They don't know what he really saying. But in their mind, they like, oh, he's suffering, I guess. I don't know what he's saying. Who cares? What's important is he's not bleeding. He's just up there like blabbing. He ain't dying or nothing. He just, I guess he's suffering. I can't even tell. So they like, fuck that. They took him down. They pierced him through the chest. Through the rib, through the chest. Same thing though. When they pull the blade out, the spear out, no blood, no wound. He's still in his meditative state, blabbering. But not like gone, but he's still looking at them. He's at peace with self. After they stab him or whatever, he goes into his state. They take it out. He looks back, and he's just in that divine state. And they just can't grasp, what the fuck kind of magic tricks he know? Stab him through the chest, no blood, no wound. It's like he not dying. So they like, what, just bury him. It don't matter if he ain't dead. We gonna act like he died. Bury him. So they buried him. 3 days later, king of those lands, they sent them to go get him. Let's see if he dead now. I'm sure he suffocated because they buried him in a tomb and, sealed it up with the big rocks, but sealed it. So it's no air in there. After 3 days, whoever you are, you'd be dead. So they went in there. His king sent the people to go get him, go get the body, recover the body, so they could see that he can get killed. Because, the whole town's looking like, this is amazing. They destroying this brother and it's not having no effect. And he's not fighting them back. So it's like deep, maybe he right about this spirit over body stuff. And maybe he is right. And he been doing a whole bunch of stuff we call miracles, but he keeps saying it's regular. You just got to be in tune with the self. And he was schooling them and they couldn't really grasp because they was conditioned. So they seeing all this, they like, man, maybe he right. Whatever the case is, the system is a liar. So, maybe you're going to look at the system so, they like bury him. He going to suffocate and die. I don't care who you are. We might can't kill him with the physical force, but just bury him like he dead. So then, they went to recover the body. He's still there in meditative state, alive, blabbering. His meditative blabber. And, he see them, oh, thank you, brothers, you came to let me out. Thank you so much. And they, scared to fucking death. Truly, because they this is scary. Everything we doing. Once you stab a man through the chest and you pull out the blade and ain't no blood, no wound, you kind of, what the fuck? Then you bury him and then you dig him out. He's, blabbering still. And then he's like, hey, fellas, I forgive you, just let me go. And they scared. They I'm not about to grab this man, man. Scared to death. So I'm just trying to give you a real perspective. So they let him go. So he just left. I'm leaving this place. They crazy in the city. So he went back to his place where he from. But the people of the town, they want to know what's up now. They looking at the king yeah, man, this old city shit that we a part of, this shit fake. They been lying about all this time. That Jesus nigga was on some deep shit. So, the people talking in the town, the king yo, this ain't looking good. So now the 2 soldiers that went to go get him, they come back empty-handed. But they can't tell the king, hey, when we went back and got him, he was still alive. Blabbering and shit. Because then the king would have been so why you didn't bring him here? And then they can't tell the king, well, we scared of him. We stabbed him and shit and all that. Ain't do nothing. And then we buried him. And then when we went to go get him, he was still alive. So we kind of like scared to death of this dude. And we let him go. The king would have beheaded them. I was scared of him. I got the whole town looking at me like I'm a fraud. They about to behead my ass. And y'all didn't bring him here? But they beheaded them. So they had to go back to the king and tell him that real shit. Listen, man, he rose from the dead. Like, he rose from the dead. Or maybe the king beheaded them and made that up himself and said, listen to the public, man, he rose from the dead. And they made the religion out of it and they attached it to their whole little system to strengthen it. Never telling the people the truth. Like, yo, that dude was just on some real spiritual tip shit that y'all could be on, but we kicked him out of here. Well, we didn't kick him out. We couldn't do nothing to him. So he left and went back wherever he from. And most of the people in the city would have left. They would have beheaded the king first. And you a fucking liar. And then they would have left. Because this was happening in that time. Kings would get beheaded. You play with the people of the city. They wasn't playing with no king. They believed the king. They found out the king lied and any reason nigga got beheaded. Quick by the whole city. Instantly. So you know they had to keep they men that rule over men, they become slaves to the men also. Because you know how men are. Men like their leaders to be how they want them to be. And if you don't follow the rules of your following, they'll behead you. In today times they'll slander you and shit. But in the past, they don't play. You can't be my leader. And you ain't talking the stuff I want to hear. And they'll behead that motherfucker. You been lying? So it's deep. They basically pierced Jesus' hand, pierced his chest, buried him, and ain't nothing happened. He had the power of the spirit over the body. And it freaked him out. It almost fucked the whole system up. So, you know, they just made the, they didn't really make up nothing. They just made up the last part. Like, he did die to make they self look like, see, we didn't lie. But he was teaching y'all the stuff. So, you know, after generation passed, they know they wasn't there. They don't know. You know, just throw that in their brain. Yeah, he was a part of our religion that we've been teaching y'all about and added into that. But it's a deep thing. The true story is they did what they did, but they ain't do nothing to him. And they couldn't tell that. We beat him. We stabbed him. And ain't shit happened. He just was in meditative state babbling and shit, and they can't tell it like that. That shit too cold-blooded. They like, nah, the things we did to him have to have effect, because we got to look strong in the end. So the king ain't gonna never give up his strength. You know, when the story's retold, you know, they beat his ass and beat him to half to death and killed him. And then they give him his glory. He rose from the dead, because the people of the town know, like, hold on, y'all didn't kill that motherfucker. We heard from our great-great-grandmothers that it was this weird dude. I don't remember the story, but I just know y'all couldn't kill him. So they like, no, yeah, we killed him, but he rose from the dead. That's what you confused on. And then they're like, oh, okay. Because, you know, people believe whatever they hear. So they're like, oh, okay, I just knew it was something where he didn't die, though. Like, nah, we killed him. We killed that motherfucker. But he was cold-blooded, you know, he rose. So they make sure they get their honor with it, too. Like, nah. You can't just say we tried to kill him and he didn't die. You know, kings got a lot of ego. Like, hold on, behead your ass. We killed him, but he rose. Because he can't just be like, no, we killed him, that was it. Because the people like, nah, my great-great-grandmother said, the same shit story you telling, they told me, but the dude ain't die. It was something else. And she dead. I can't dig her body up, but the dude didn't die. So, you know, the king got to make sure the story fit right. So it's like, yeah, we killed him, but then he didn't die though, but we killed him though. But in all reality, you know, nothing they did had any effect. And you have people in today times that still, you know, get initiated in, and they have them same talents where they can be pierced through the chest and the hand, and it has no effect on them. But usually these people do not come into the cities, because it's truly no saving the people in the cities. They're a slave to the ruler. So even if you affect the people and you reach them, the ruler will eventually raise up against you, and the people are not going to help you because they scared of the ruler. So even when you, so it's deep. So they don't really deal, and they probably told Jesus, don't fuck with that shit, man. You dig? They like how they are. But Jesus was one with them people because that's where he hid. So he was familiar with the city. He like, nah, they could be reached. I was with them. They a little thrown off, but I was around them. So, the people in the forest and the villages, they don't deal with people in the city ever. So in their mind, they like, man, fuck them. And he like, but now I'm like the medium between the two. I actually had to go run and hide there and spend times in different cities. So it's kind of neat there. But, they just need a little help. So he really thought he could help. But really nothing actually happened. He just went on with his fucking life. And back the way he was from, and he just went on with his life, and he just stopped teaching because he learned his lesson. And like, okay, you can't really teach them. It's just a self thing. Knowledge is just a self thing. You can't really help people out. It doesn't matter what you do. If they're conditioned into religion and that stuff, then they just gonna add whatever you do to that. And so he just grasped knowledge is for self, and you just get your knowledge and grasp life. And he probably had a few individual students, and they probably were initiated as well. And this probably was passed down throughout history. So now you have two lines of Jesus, so to say. The true one, which is probably, still descendants in today times of Far East Asian descent, still practicing the ceremonies and rites and initiating people into the brotherhood. And then you have the Jesus that we know, that died, and he from this part of wherever we think he from. And then you get the Apocrypha from that. Jesus really had kids and all of this, and you get all of that from that. But I guess if you go to Far East Asian countries, they probably got a story of a guy that kind of fit the bill, but he just came back home, and it's not told as majestical as we have it in the religion. So it's probably just a story about a guy that was deep into yogi teachings, and he went out into the cities of the world and taught and did his thing, and was eventually chased out of the cities and put through everything I said. But you can't do nothing to them, their physical body. So, they did whatever they did, but it had no effect. So nothing really happened. He just kicked out the city and eventually came home. So this is how they would tell it. He went out into the city. They can't do shit to him. He had no effect on the people, truly. They just added him to their religion. So he just came back home and lived his life or whatever. And this is probably how they have the rendition of whatever they call the person. It's probably not even attached to ours. So when you're dealing with Hindu, they try to tie like our Jesus into what their character may be, but they probably have a character that has nothing to do with Jesus in their mind, in y'all minds either. And that's probably the one that I'm talking about. But if they hear what I'm saying, they like, oh, no, because Far East Asians are familiar with what I'm saying. They like, oh, no, he talking real shit. There was this guy that went through that, blah, 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 blah. That's so-and-so. From like 8,000 years ago. That's so-and-so. And that's what I'm talking about. So, y'all just got it a little twisted in y'all city rendition, so to say. So, we live in a city, so you get it in the God and religion aspect of it. But in all reality, it was just a man that tapped into and he, like I said, he was one of many, but motherfuckers don't deal with people in the cities. It's cold-blooded. But you got a lot of Buddhist monks and different people all over the world that still indulge into these practices, and they conquer the spirit over the body while they're still physically living. And it's deep. It's so cold-blooded the way life works, because to get to that state, you have to become like completely at peace, loving, non-aggressive. So it's a deep thing. They can't be aggressive in that. They'll kind of lose the connection that keeps them from being harmed. So you can stab them or shoot them or whatever, and it'll penetrate and do what it do, but there will be no blood, no wound. But they're in a certain state of peace, bliss, and just unconfrontation within the spirit. And that is what's like the mind over the body, and is deep. If they snap out of that, they fuck around and bullet affect them. So it's like a give for give. They gotta stay in a certain state to stay in their physical state. But these people don't usually run around showing off their powers. They don't really care about people in the cities, because people in the cities don't really care about themselves, man. They just lost into the entertainment. They like things to be weird for them. It's deep, but that's the real story of Jesus, man, and it's deep. If you have an ear, grasp what I just said. Like I said, this come from that old knowledge from ancient times. Things y'all can't even read, wouldn't even have access to. So it's a deep thing. Peace and wisdom.